Hello, my fellow writers. My name is Laura, and welcome to Learn to Writer, where we talk about the mental challenges of being a writer. And if you've never been here before, I am so happy to see you. I'm so happy you've decided to join us. And if you have been here before, may the words be ever in your favor. Today, I am going to tell you a story. I played the original Pokemon Red and Blue when it came out. I was completely taken over by Pokemon and loved it. I had both Red version and Blue version so that I could trade myself the starters. I could trade myself the different the Pokemon that you could only get on one version or the other. I played that game a lot. I played that game at least 12 times, and I know this because I caught the Mewtwo at the end of each game, and I named them using the alphabet. So like the first one's name was, I think, was Albert, and then it was like Beatrice, and then like I don't know, Chuck. I don't remember all of them, but I do remember that I had a Jessica because that was the first Mewtwo that I caught that had high IVs in speed and special attack, which is basically what you would want. I'm pretty sure there was like a Kimberly after that. But anyway, I continued to play all of the other games that came out. I played Yellow, Diamond and Pearl, and all that kind of stuff. Over that time, I had my team on each game. I named my teams with like thematic names. Like there was one where I had a Cyndaquil whose name was Map, and then I had like Compass and Legend and Grid, I think was one of them, like stuff that you would find on a map. And I did this for like every game that came out, right? And I would get all the starters and I would get all the things. I had a Mew back when you had to like go to a physical event and have them download the Mew onto your game. I had a Celebi, which was you had to send Nintendo your game cartridge and they would send it back to you with the Celebi on there. I had a Jirachi from playing, I think that was Pokemon Stadium, which I played, and then I also played Gale of Darkness, which was an amazing and probably far too underrated game. But I played all these Pokemon games, and I traded up my important Pokemon like through the generations. Got Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, like I traded all the Pokemon to the newest version of the game, and eventually we got to Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which they were amazing games. They still are amazing games, but like they came out and it was beautiful and just one of the best Pokemon game experiences I've had. I transferred all my Pokemon onto my little Soul Silver cartridge. That was my main game, was on Soul Silver. And I don't know what happened to it. I'm pretty sure that at some point, because, they're like the little DS cartridges are like tiny little whatevers, I'm pretty sure it fell off my desk and into the trash. I lost it and I never found it again, is basically the story. I was crushed. I did not play Pokemon again for years and years after that because all these Pokemon that I had gathered over so many hours and had so much, like I had stories with them and I had experiences with them and all this kind of stuff, and they were just all gone. They were gone. And I was never going to get them back. This was probably a good 20 years ago at this point. And I still have moments of regret. I still have moments where I wish that I still had those Pokemon. And so you might have guessed from the title of this video that you clicked on that this is about backing up your writing. And I know that the story about my Pokemon is not a one-to-one comparison because there really isn't any way to back up those Pokemon. Like, I just should have not had the cartridge on my desk or whatever. But your writing is something that you can back up, and it is something that I know would emotionally crush me really, really bad if I was to ever lose the stories that I've written. And I still have loose leaf paper of stories that I wrote when I was a child. My mom saved them in a little folder, and I have them all in there like in little separate folders in a big bin. It's really cute. If I lost the stories that I'm working on, it's basically as irreplaceable as those Pokemon. I could probably rewrite the stories. It would never be exactly the same, and the amount of time it would take and the amount of effort, not like all of that said, this is your wake-up call to back up your stories. That is the point of this video. You need to back up your stories, and you need to do it now. I'm going to tell you how I have all of my stuff backed up. so that you can get some ideas if you're not exactly sure why, or if you're doing it wrong. I'm going to tell you how you might be doing your backups wrong. So number one, I have all of my active stories, because I have a bunch of stories, but all the ones that I'm actively working on are in a Dropbox. That syncs. I have the free plan, so the files are actually located on the computer. I don't want them to only exist on the cloud. That just, I have that on my desktop. And then that also syncs up with my laptop. The laptop is, in my mind, far easier to grab in an emergency. And so, I have those backed up on both of those. Which also means that I do not have backups on the same drive, because drives can fail. I've had drives fail. I was a computer science major at Virginia Tech, and one of our professors was really known for kind of being a little bit of a hard ass. He always said that a backup in the same physical location does not count as a backup. And he absolutely refused, like, if you came in and you didn't have your project done because, like, your drive had failed, he was like, you should have had a backup, and he did not, like, he would not accept you didn't have your project. I said I have it backed up on my desktop and then my laptop. Those are different drives, but they are also both in my house. So in addition to keeping Dropbox updated or whatever, I also have a script that runs once a week where it takes all of my stories, period, so not just the ones I'm actively working on, but all of them, period, and zips them up into a nice little file, puts them onto another drive that is on my desktop, which then automatically uploads that file. Those zip files all go up onto Google Drive, which is on the cloud, and exists in a different physical location than the rest of my backups. This is one of those things you have to think about when you're thinking about where you're going to be putting your backups. Like, I've had only one drive ever in my life that failed so spectacularly that I could not get the data back off of it. Like, even if I put it in another computer or whatever, like, the hard drive just straight up died. The idea of your drive, having a drive that just fails is kind of unlikely. If you happen to have more than one drive on your computer, or you have multiple computers where you can kind of back up those computers, go ahead and do that. I'm not saying don't do that, because like I said, the one that goes up onto the cloud is only once a week. I could lose up to a week's worth of work if it happened on like a Saturday or whatever, but I would have to, basically, I think my house would have to burn down when I'm not there so that I'm unable to grab my laptop. It's unlikely that would happen. Technically, the copies would still be on Dropbox. If I lose both of those computers, getting that back would be a little bit of a thing. You can have backups on your same drive, in your same location. The cloud did not exist when I was a computer science major. It exists now, and it is handy. Even if you don't use Google for anything else, zip up your files and put them up on there. Encrypt the file if you want to keep Google from scraping anything. That being said, I don't keep all of those zip files. Like, once I've accumulated a certain amount, I think I keep like 2 per year, mostly for posterity, if any of the files got corrupted or something like that and I legit have to go back. I also, if I ever make any huge version changes, I keep those. But for the most part, you don't have to be like me. You only need technically the most recent copy of whatever it is that you're working on. Since putting that system into place, I have never needed it. I feel like at one point I went back, I had to get something out of an old zip file that I had up on my Google Drive. It definitely wasn't make or break. It was like a scene that I had written and then deleted because I didn't think I needed it. And then I was like, well, but I really want it. And, I went back and found it. But like, I haven't had a drive fail, knock on wood. I haven't had my house burned down. Yay. But I am also able to know with almost certainty, like almost 100% certainty, that I will not lose my file. Like, I will not lose any of my stories. And like I said before, if you don't have some sort of a backup in place, or your backups are technically on the same computer that your regular copies are on, this is your call to go and make some sort of a backup that is not in your same physical location. And if you really, really don't want to put any of your stuff up on the cloud, seriously, print out a copy of your story. You can do that pretty cheaply at like a UPS or something like that. Like, you don't even have to have a printer, but print out a copy of your story and like seal it in an envelope and give it to a friend to put under their bed or something like that. Don't run the risk that you're going to lose all of your hard work because some sort of tragedy happens, that would be the worst reason to not have a story be finished, is because you lost it and you just don't have the will to do it again. I don't want you to ever have to go through the same heartache that I went with my Pokemon, still regretting it decades later. Back up your stories, keep them safe, and keep writing. So, if you like this video, go ahead and like this video. If you would like to see some more of my videos, go ahead and subscribe, and those will be coming out eventually. I usually post about once a week, so that is the eventually. And I will see you in that video. Okay, bye-bye.